Hey, welcome back. Okay, so now we've opened the door. We turn the knob with the big idea, and now it's time to really pre-sell before you even try to sell. Have you ever noticed sometimes you'll be in a marketplace and you'll see one brand, and that brand everybody wants it, and there's tons of build up and there's tons of desire for that brand, and you're thinking, man, this brand's not even that great. Why does everybody want this brand? Why does everybody go to this seminar instead of this seminar? Why does everyone read this book instead of this book? Why do they wear this label instead of this label? So much of it right here. It's all about positioning. Positioning can be one of the most powerful elements of every marketing campaign, and thankfully, for you and I, most people never think about it, which is wonderful. That means your competitors probably aren't thinking about it, which gives you a tremendous amount of opportunity to actually do it really, really well. So let's talk about it. The name of this portion of our class, this is the second half of our class, is how to reverse engineer your prospects' value systems for ultimate positioning. That's what we're going to do in this, all right? So let's talk about the job of positioning. Positioning's job is, number one, to establish authority. Why should I listen to you? Why should I give you my attention? Why should I do what you say? This other job is to build trust. Why should I trust you? How do I know you're not lying to me? Why should I give you my money? The third job is to support the big idea and the premise, right? So we establish the big idea, we establish the premise. It's not nearly good enough to say, here's the big idea, here's the premise, give me some money. We have to support that. That's the job of positioning. And the other job of it is to reduce resistance to the promise. If you do a good job with big idea and positioning, you're going to have very little resistance when you make the promise and try to actually get a sale. You're actually pre-selling before selling. It's so subtle, but it's so incredibly powerful. Thank God not many people use this, by the way. Now, so much of positioning actually relies on internal decisions as opposed to external decisions. So internal decisions are very, very powerful. Let's talk about their opposite first. So first of all, an external decision is what most people think about, and an external decision is a decision we make based on external factors, such as someone convincing us of something. So for example, if we say, people who listen to rap music are bad, Jim listens to rap music, you shouldn't hang out with him. That means that someone has convinced us that Jim is bad because Jim listens to rap music, okay? So can you cause someone to come to some sort of a conclusion or a decision externally by saying, hey, Jim's bad, he listens to rap music, you shouldn't hang out with him? Yeah, of course you can. Now, the problem is that is a weak foundation. Now let's compare it. I'll give you an example in a minute. I'll drive this point home. Let's compare it to an internal decision. An internal decision is one we make on our own, right? For example, I saw Jim rob a liquor store yesterday. Jim is bad. So if you see Jim robbing the liquor store, you don't need anyone to convince you that Jim's bad. You decide for yourself, hey, I was right there. He robbed the liquor store. I'm going to avoid Jim, regardless of what kind of music he listens to, right? So here's the thing, okay? Internal decisions are infinitely more powerful than external decisions. If we come up with something on our own, if we make that decision, we own it, we will defend it, we will stick with it, we will often stick with it even when we know it's wrong. You ever been in an argument and you know you're wrong, but you're not going to give in because, dang it, it's your position and I'm sticking to this position? I never have, personally. My wife here? Yeah, I've never done it. No. You guys have, not me. Of course, everybody does it, right? It's an internal decision. So the question becomes, and our job today becomes, how do we figure out how to cause our prospects to make an internal decision about you? How do we influence them without directly influencing them on the external, all right? Well, we do it through positioning. It's pretty cool. So positioning is really built on three foundational pillars, okay? So pillar number one is surface positioning, all right? Pillar number two is psychographic and demographic positioning, pretty heavy-duty stuff here. And pillar number three is your demonstration. Now, when people actually think about positioning and even try, they usually live here, and sometimes here. They largely ignore this, thankfully, okay? Now, before we go further, I want you to remember the golden rule of positioning. We are magnetically drawn to people who are just like us. Old as the hills, will always remain constant. This will always be true of human nature. We might as well go with the power of the river instead of trying to swim upstream. Don't you agree? So if we know that we're magnetically drawn to people who are just like us, then it makes sense for us to cause our prospect to logically conclude, this person's just like me. All right, we do it through psychographic positioning. Okay, so the first step of psychographic positioning is to reverse engineer the value systems of your prospects. I'll tell you how in a minute. The second step is to identify how you can match those value systems in your messaging. And the third step is to use surface positioning and demonstration to illustrate that match. Now, I know that probably sounds super weird and like some type of complete gibberish, so let me show you exactly how to do it. Before I show you how to do it, though, I want you to understand that we only want to do this with your ideal prospect in mind. Do it with the ideal prospect that you actually want, not whoever you can get, but your perfect prospect. So if you want to attract your perfect person, think of that person while we're doing this exercise, okay? So let's talk about, number one, your most important thing, which is always going to be your prospect and your customer. In this case, it's going to be your prospect's value system. We're going to figure out how their mind works right now, okay? So there's basically 4 pillars that this is built on. Number 1 is their desires. Number 2 is their fears. Number 3 is what they are for. Number 4 is what they are against. Okay, so if I were to look at my ideal prospect, and I'll just use my business as an example because it's easy, okay? So if I was to look at my ideal prospect, I'd start here and I'd say, well, what does this person want? Okay, well, they want consistent sales. Let's say I'm selling my professional services, which is where we install the campaigns for people and we do work for them and we coach them on how to actually get their automation up and running properly. Well, I know their biggest desire is consistent sales, right? I also know this is my ideal person. Now, remember, it's not everybody, it's the person I want. I know that they also want to promote really heavily, but they always want to be delivering and building and providing goodwill in their marketplace. They also are intensely interested in turning advertising into profit. They are fine with getting free profit, but they understand that they got to advertise and they want to advertise because they realize it's the best return on investment you can ever get, right? So they're going to have that desire as my ideal person, right? Let's talk about their fears now. What do they not want? What do they want to avoid? Well, their biggest fear is, man, I want this automation stuff. It sounds cool, but I'm really afraid of tech overwhelm. Well, how do I do all this stuff? What if I don't have time? Is it going to be a pain in the butt? What if I break it? Yada, 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 okay? Rational, normal fears. That's okay. They're also afraid of, I want to promote a lot, but I don't want to lose goodwill. I don't want to make people mad. I don't want to be one of those people. You know what I mean? That are constantly bludgeoning their list and everything. Don't want to be like cheesy. So they fear this. It's my ideal person. And finally, they fear the loss of a pillar. By that I mean a pillar of traffic, a pillar of customers, a source of customers and revenue. They're afraid it might go away, right? So what if Facebook stops working? What if Google slaps me again? What if the internet breaks or whatever? So my ideal person will fear that, right? Okay, so these are the value systems of the people that I want, all right? Not of everybody in the marketplace, of the people who I want. So I want you to list this out for the people who you want as well, okay? All right, so the next thing here is now, what are they for? Okay, what does this person stand for? What do they emotionally resonate with as it relates to my type of stuff? Well, number 1, they're for advertising, okay? They have to be like, yeah, dude, show me advertising case studies. Let's talk about how to get a better ROI on my ad spend. Let's talk about how to get a higher customer value. Let's talk about how to get a lower acquisition, et cetera, et cetera. They got to be really into that. That's who I want. I want someone who's really for that, right? Would you believe there are people that are actually really against advertising? They think it's evil. There's an entire magazine about how bad advertising is and how it's ruining everything, which is funny because I think the magazine sells advertising in the pages. We just will let that one lie there. But anyway, hey, whatever floats your boat, So they also need to be for value-based marketing, right? I want them to be really in favor of providing marketing that actually helps their customer. I want them to really be a big proponent of and take proud ownership of their belief that every piece of marketing should serve to further the prospect towards his goal, whether they buy or not. That's what I want them to be for, right? This is my little fantasy world. This is the person I want, my perfect person. I'm building my dream date here of a prospect, right? So now, what else? I want them to be for hard work. I want them to be proud of the fact that they have busted their ass to get where they are, Okay, I don't want them to be lazy bums. I want to be like, yeah, let's go. Now, you got to be wondering, well, why would he want them to be for all of this stuff? Well, because my stuff's not going to work. If they don't want to advertise, then my stuff's not going to do them any good, right? Long term, like, what are you going to do? I mean, I'm going to build you this machine. The advertising is the gas that runs the machine. If you're not going to buy gas, the machine's going to be worthless, okay? I want them to be into value-based marketing because all the campaigns that I build for them are all built on value-based marketing. I want them to be for hard work because this is hard work. Even if we build campaigns for them, it's still hard. It's not like, okay, here you go, it's done, push button, get rich. Nope, doesn't work that way. Sorry, we don't propose that it works that way. All right, so now what do I want them to be against? What do I want them to almost take offense at, all right? So number one, I want them to be against hype. Okay, I want them to be offended by hype in the marketing community and in general, the unsubstantiated BS hype. Okay, I want them to be mad about that, really, really turned off by it. I also want them to be against typical internet marketing, providing no value, trying to find shortcuts, looking for something for nothing, etc. I want them to be the opposite of that. Okay, same thing with something for nothing. I want them to also be against short-term thinking. I want them to be really thinking and understanding that short-term thinking is dumb. Short-term thinking is a damn near guaranteed way to make significantly less money and enjoy significantly less happiness in your life. And I want them to really share my beliefs that that is totally stupid. Okay, so that's their value system. So what we're going to do is right now we're going to take a look at these two columns. So what's important about these columns? Well, these two columns help craft your offer, help engineer your demonstration. This is like you doing stuff for them, demonstrating that you can help them by helping them. And it helps with the creation of pre-framing and positioning material. All right, so I'll give you an example. One of the articles I've written, which is my most popular article to date, is How to Turn Advertising into Profit. Right? I have an article. In fact, if you go to my website, it says my very first thing that I say on my website, like the headline of the graphic of the website with my picture of it, says the most effective way to generate wealth is to turn advertising into profit. Okay? So, blam. I'm speaking right there to one of their biggest desires, the biggest desire of my prospect. Okay? That's helping me engineer my messaging, knowing that person's desire. If they want to build goodwill, well, what do you know? One of my other immensely popular articles is how to create good content that actually sells, right? All about building goodwill. If you study any of my stuff, you see me teach results in advanced method. It is matching perfectly with their desire to build goodwill, okay? So that's why these things are important. Now, so when we have this, it's time to do something called value mapping, all right? And so here's how value mapping works. We know their values, right? So now what we want to do is we want to find your value system. We want to line it up next to your prospect's value system, and we want to see where you have a match. What do you have in common? And then you want to emphasize that match, right? You want to really, really draw it to the forefront of your prospect's mind and illustrate it, shine a really big light on, hey, here's where we are similar. Here's where you and I share similar values. So how do you do it? Well, what we do is, first of all, we start out with your for, okay? What are you for? What are you a champion of? For me, huge champion of advertising. I mean, just like a fanatical, zealous person about advertising. I honestly think that the surefire way to generate wealth is to learn how to turn advertising into profit consistently. I constantly beat the stock market and all real estate gains through advertising. Now, granted, I think you should do all of them. I take the money that I earn from advertising my stuff and I invest in other things. Huge proponent of advertising, though. I think it is the ultimate like proving ground in business. It knows no race, it knows no color, it knows no handicap, it knows no advantage. If you succeed in advertising, then you succeed. It is the ultimate equalizer, is what it is. I love it. It's huge, right? So I'm intensely for advertising. So anyone else who is also for advertising and wants to turn it into profit, instantly going to be drawn to me, right? Like, oh man, this guy's speaking my language. That's great. Also, huge proponent of goodwill. I think every piece of marketing should give goodwill to the marketplace, leave them better than you found them, even if they don't buy. That's just my philosophy. Love it, right? Real big proponent there. Whoa, overzealous clicking. Real big proponent of hard work. I get very offended by people who don't want to work hard, who want something for nothing. It bothers me. Maybe it's because I'm old and middle-aged, but I get grouchy about it. Real big proponent of hard work. Really admire people who hard work. I know that this country was built on the back of unbelievably difficult work by our grandparents and our parents and their parents' parents, right? We got it pretty good because of their hard work. So I'm a big fan of hard work. I also am for the championing of the entrepreneurial spirit. I believe 100% that the entrepreneur carries the entire weight of the world on his shoulders. That without the entrepreneur, the entire world will cease to produce and we will descend into a society of total chaos. We will be reduced to cavemen in a matter of years, if not months, if all of the entrepreneurs just quit producing. That's what I believe. So I'm huge for the championing of the entrepreneurial spirit. I view my fellow entrepreneur as family. I want to do everything I can to support that person because I believe we share the same mission, right? We are in it together to carry the rest of the world, whether we want to or not. It's our job. We pay the taxes, we produce things, we innovate, we pay the salaries, we provide the jobs. It is all us. That's what I feel. Right? That's what I'm for. Now imagine someone else sharing that same value and hearing me say that, which incidentally is 100% true. None of this is staged. That's genuinely how I feel. We're going to have a match, you see. Before I ever try to sell anything, we're going to have a match. Now let's look at therefore, okay? My ideal customer is for advertising. If they heard me speak about advertising and being the most effective way to generate revenue and being the great equalizer that it is, they're probably going to be like, I like this guy. Before I even mention my product, man, what's this guy all about? I like this fella, right? There for value-based marketing, I'm a real big proponent of goodwill. They hear me talk about how we need to leave people better than how we found them and how if we can help people get results in advance of the sale, it makes our selling a lot more easy to do. Before I ever try to sell them anything, they're going to be thinking, what's this guy all about? I kind of like this fella, right? Same with hard work, same with championing the entrepreneurial spirit. So I found their fours, I found my fours, I'm matching them. I'm creating messaging that illustrates this match, right? We do the same thing with the against column, okay? We will be more magnetic. Well, here, let me rephrase it actually. We become magnetic to the people that we want by being repulsive to the people who we don't. So the more you push away the undesirable customer, the more magnetic you become to the ones that you want. It's great, right? So I'm against hype. So if someone heard me rail against like the typical internet marketing crap and say how bad it sucked and here's 5 ways to make it better, that person, if they had the same against beliefs as I would be like, hey, what's this guy about? I kind of like this guy. I'm strongly against dependence on joint ventures. I think it's dumb. I don't think it's a business. I think you got a gimmick, and the minute your JVs go away, you don't have a business. Well, come on, fellas, can you mail my stuff? No. Well, I don't know how to advertise. Well, I guess you're out of business. Right? So I'm very against it. I think it's very, very dangerous. I hate the whole get-rich-quick mentality. Drives me crazy. If you want to get rich quick, then rob a liquor store or something. Sell Coke. I mean, yeah, it's got a lot of risk, but I mean, come on. We don't get rich quick in business. That's stupid, okay? Something for nothing, I don't even need to go into it. It's so offensive, right? So I'm strongly against this. I think that all of the bad that our country and our society experiences right now is somewhat, if not directly attributed to people's sense of entitlement to something in exchange for nothing. I think that this one thing is damn near single-handedly causing the decline of modern civilization. That's how much I am against that kind of thing, right? That's true, by the way. I mean, you really got to watch this. You got to watch your mind. All right, so also against woo-woo. Don't much care for the woo-woo. I don't think that if you sit around and think about what you want, you're going to get it. I think if you bust your ass, you're going to get it, right? And it's going to be hard, but the one who works the hardest and smartest and stays with it ultimately wins. Look at every success story out there. It's never like, I sat around and I thought about it and I looked at the crystal and I talked to the space dolphins. The next thing you know, I created Facebook. I don't think that happened. I think Mr. Zuckerberg worked his ass off. Still does, right? Okay, so let's talk about now, remember, I mapped out the value systems of my ideal person. Let's talk about their against. I know they're against type, right? I know that they're against typical IM. This GRC is supposed to stand for get rich quick. Quick is now spelled with a C. That's the New English Dictionary's definition. CWIK, get rich quick, right? I know that they're against something for nothing. If someone was against something for nothing and they heard that little piece I just did about the something for nothing mentality being probably the single greatest contributor to the mental decline of our entire civilization, do you think they might be kind of drawn to me? You think they might say, hey, what's this guy about? That's all I wanted to do. They're not going to say, well, shit, take my money, Frank. Don't know you, but here it is. I don't even know what you're selling. I just want to buy it. Ain't going to happen. But it will open the door, right? It will open the door for me to further have that relationship and ultimately make my promise. Remember, positioning's job is to make them less resistant to your promise, okay? So finally, what we do now is we highlight these mutual value matches. So our mutual fours are advertising, goodwill, hard work, championing the entrepreneurial spirit. Our mutual against is hype. Typical IMGRC, get rich quick, quick with a C. It's so fast, it's spelled with a C, all right? Something for nothing, okay? So here's the thing. In talking about deliberately repelling people and taking hard-line stances of something, on a topic or whatever, I'm ultimately telling you to deliberately lose customers. I mean, you will, like, if I would get more customers if I went out and was like, yeah, you can do it, it's easy, right? So, I mean, I once heard that ultimately what we do in the marketing space is we sell hope. I took great offense by it. I was like, we don't sell hope. I don't. I sell blood, sweat, and tears. I sell blood, sweat, and tears, motherfucker. Don't like it, then go line up with these other guys. But if you want to make it, you're going to have these blood, sweat, and tears. Now, I could probably make more money in the short term selling hope, right? That statement about I sell blood, sweat, and tears is going to turn some people off, but guess what? It is going to be infinitely more attractive to the ones who are willing to work, and that's who I want. So the warning I want to give you is, you will lose customers by trying not to lose customers. If you try to please everybody, you're going to lose. You will be significantly less effective. You will not lead, you will not convert, you will be an also ran. You will be forgettable. You will be a footnote in the history of your marketplace. So don't try to please everybody. Take a hard line stance on what you believe in and attract like-minded people. If you try to please everybody, you will have a less powerful message. It'll just be weak. You'll be like a politician just trying to say whatever needs to be said, right? By being repulsive to some, you will be extra magnetic to others, just like I said earlier, okay? So that is the psychographic. That's the mental part of positioning. You want to find out how their mind works. You don't want to manufacture a match. You want to find out where you genuinely match and accentuate those matches, okay? That's all. So never make it up. If you fake it, you're hosed, right? It's got to be real. So the next thing is going to be demographics. So we talked about their psychographics. Now let's talk about their demographics. So surface level demographics help support surface level positioning. So what is a surface level demographic? Well, simple stuff. For example, what gender, how old, what do they need to see in order to be open to your presentation of values? You know, as bad as it is and as unpleasant as it is, we judge a book by its cover, right? That's what surface level is about. What do they need to see that'll even let you get past the door? Okay, so surface level positioning is made up of the following. Your uniform in language, what you say, how you say it, and what you look like. Really basic stuff. Very few people think about it. Now, they might try to look a certain way, but there's no psychology behind the way they try to look. So this means what you wear, okay? This means what you look like, all right? This means how you speak, okay? Now, the next set is set, setting, and symbols. This matters. So imagine you're in video, right, or in photographs. You're going to eventually be if you're selling stuff online. So where are you? Where are the videos? Do you have symbols representing the desired outcome and values? Now, if we just look at these two, let me give you an illustration, okay? Warren Buffett, arguably, might be the greatest investment advisor in the world, okay? Now, imagine if Warren Buffett was in an alley, smudged with dirt, dressed like a homeless person, and speaking with really, really bad grammar. Still dispensing the same type of advice, by the way. Would you pay attention to it? Probably not. Even if you knew it was Warren Buffett, right? You'd still be like, oh, I don't know, my brain's not computing. This is not what I expect this person to look like. I cannot hear the promise because my brain is too focused on the mismatch of what I think this person should represent, right? It is what it is. It's not good. It's kind of bad, really. I mean, we really judge books by their cover. But if we know this going in, we can design the cover of the book. Okay, so now the next one is association. Okay, association is who are you seen with in the market, right? Now, this is a big deal This is a huge deal. I mean, you know this. You've probably drawn a conclusion about someone based on who they are associated with without ever knowing them. I know I have, right? Oh my gosh, I did it with actually, I'm in the studio right now. This is a classic. This is really irony. So the studio I'm in is Andy Jenkins' studio. I'm sure you know Andy. He's a good friend of mine. He's a very, very successful business guy and really, really smart guy. When I first heard of Andy, I was invited to do some work for them, which I ultimately did. We created one of the largest promotions in the history of the community. And the first time I heard about him, I didn't like him. Even though I'd never met him, never spoken to him, never seen him, never seen any of his materials, never read a word that he wrote, decided I didn't like him because he associated with somebody that I didn't like. And I was like, well, he's friends with that guy. I'm not going to be friends with him because I am a 10th grader in here. We all do it, okay? So this is important. Who you are seen with matters, all right? So let me give you some illustrations. I have had multiple different lives during my business lifetime. One era, which I call the era of psychosis, also known as the guru era, I attracted a totally different psychographic customer, okay? My customer, who I was deliberately attracting, had different values than me. They had different desires than I did. As a result, I wore a different They also had a different demographic. As a result, I wore a different uniform, okay? This is what I looked like back then. I had super long hair, bleached white by the sea. This is actually pretty dressed up for that era, really. So I had a different uniform. I looked different. As a result, I also had a different setting. My videos were almost always filmed at the beach. Why? Well, the psychographic values of my customer were freedom. Ultimately, back then, what I was into and what my customers were into as well was we wanted freedom, man. I wanted to be able to just to do some stuff and get money without really working that hard. I didn't want to have to deal with the man. I wanted to live a free life. I wanted to party all the time, right? Those were my values. Those were their values too. I deliberately attracted people with those values. Now, also had different symbols, okay? So in the videos, there were different symbols given to represent the desired demographic and psychographic values of that person. So my target market wanted freedom. They wanted to hang out. They wanted to be countercultural. But the most memorable video I've got is a video of me driving around in my Volkswagen bus, right? I mean, still, all the time people will come out to see me. They'll be like, hey, man, can we ride in the bus? I'm like, I gave the bus away years ago. I don't have the bus. Oh, man, we love that bus. You know, it's crazy. Why did I give that thing away? I love that thing. It was the dumbest thing ever. But different symbols. Right now, let's look at today. Okay, I have different values, personally, dramatically different values. As a result, I'm deliberately attracting customers with different values, right? 100%. So I engineered it. Now, my values are not engineered. They just evolved. I got older. I became significantly less intoxicated, had more children. Values changed, made a change in who I'm deliberately attracting. So now I attract customers with a different psychographic. They have dramatically different psychographic values. Right? They value hard work. They value advertising. They don't care about freedom and lifestyle as much as they care about legacy and productivity, right? So they also have different desires, all right? They want long-term, where back in the day, it was more short-term thinking. It was more, hey, let's do a launch. Let's make a bunch of money, fast and then kind of chill out for a while. Where today, I'm thinking more about, hey, let's make a lot of money all the time and like impress our great-grandchildren, So as a result of this, today I wear a different uniform. I dress most of the time like Colonel Sanders, which I don't know why I chose that picture, but that's kind of what I look like in there, is a good old Colonel Sanders. But as you know, like even now in this video, I'm wearing a blazer, I'm wearing a button-down suit. If you look at the set and the setting in my videos, I'm actually showing different areas. Where it used to be the beach, I'm now in a more professional executive environment, like at this desk, etc., right? If you look at the symbols, instead of a Volkswagen bus, I'll show my wife's Rolls Royce, right? It's a different symbol of the outcome of my demographic, my person that I'm after. This is all surface level positioning here. Now, let's look at associations. If we go back to the guru area, I was primarily heavily involved with the guru launch scene, right? So all the time you'd see me with the typical internet marketing gurus, and I would be supporting their launches. They'd be supporting mine, and we'd all be seen together. Still love those guys. Still great guys. Don't do that anymore. I don't want someone who's really interested in that type of stuff, affiliate marketing and launches and everything. I want more people who are interested in building a real business. Therefore, I'm seen with different folks. Tony Robbins, this is the second video I've done with Tony Robbins. I actually flew to his house 5 hours to do this video, A, because Tony's freaking cool and I wanted to help him. This was to support one of his books about finance. B, does a lot of good for my positioning to be seen dressed nice, interviewing Tony Robbins about finance, right? Especially when a big part of my business comes from people in the financial advisement communities, right? Now, I'm featured in magazines such as Insurance Newsnet, which is specifically about finance, because like I said, I do a lot of work with financial advisors and planners, where then I was featured in, well, nothing. I was featured in newsletters about affiliate marketing and so forth. So here's the thing, your surface level positioning is what they see, and they make, as a result, a snap judgment about you, whether or not they will proceed to the next step, which is now your values. So you never even get to present your values to them. You never even get to illustrate your matching values to them unless you pass that surface level test. If you don't look right and you don't talk right and you're not in the right set and setting, even if you're Warren Buffett, you're not going to be able to tell them how you value long-term investment strategy over short-term day trading, right? You're not going to be able to, it doesn't matter how good you are. You've got to pass the surface level. Once you get past it, now you demonstrate your shared values. And finally, you get to the final phase, which is demonstration. Demonstration in positioning is where you demonstrate your authority, you demonstrate your expertise, you demonstrate your credibility. You do it, well, let me show you, actually. So let's talk about demonstrate. The final phase of positioning is where you demonstrate your matching values through your indoctrination sequences. That means the videos that they see before you make a pitch. Classic example of this is pre-launch videos, right? You might also demonstrate your understanding of their fears and desires by describing them to the prospect better than he can describe them to themselves, right? So you demonstrate this through your communication. Hey, listen, you know what? If you're watching this video right now, you probably tried to run advertising in the past and maybe it failed. Maybe you're like me and you had a little bit of money saved up and advertising salesman came along and offered to sell you some ads and you spent it all thinking, man, my phone's going to ring off the hook. And like me, nothing happened. I might tell the true story, by the way. If I had $5,000 to my name in my business, I bought a TV spot, 0 phone calls, out of business. It's before I knew anything about marketing. I might tell that story to describe their frustration even better than they can, right? I also might demonstrate my expertise and credibility by educating them and providing results in advance. Of all these three, this is the most important, right? This is the single most important. So if you can demonstrate, you can help them by actually helping them, and you precede that demonstration by establishing surface level positioning matches and establishing value matching, demographic and psychographic positioning matches, then they're going to be really receptive to this, which of course is going to make them open to your promise, which when it comes time to sell, it's an easier sell. You see, so it all fits together perfectly. So your assignment here is to answer these questions. What uniform, setting, symbols, and language do you need to display, right? What do you need to wear? What do you need to look like? Where do you need to be in your pictures and your videos? What do you need to be talking about? What matching for values can you highlight? How can you cause that person to say, man, this guy is just, or this lady is just like me? I want to find out more about what they have to say. And finally, what matching against values can you highlight? What can you take a hard stance against that's going to repel the ones you don't want and make you hypermagnetic to the ones you want? And double finally, because this really is finally, what associations can be used for ultra magnetism? What can you associate your personal brand with to have them be even more magnetic to you? So I hope you enjoyed this class. Those are your missions. When you get this stuff even kind of right, you're going to be so much better than your competition in attracting, maintaining the attention of your ideal customers, and you're going to have such an easier job of selling them because they already know, like, and trust you, and you don't have to scream loud promises. You can just subtly state matter-of-fact promises, and they'll be a lot more receptive because you've done the really, hey, let's face it, this kind of stuff is pretty fun anyway. You've done the fun homework to go ahead and lay the groundwork for you to do your selling. So I hope you enjoyed this class. I'm telling you, if you use this stuff and you actually deploy it in your business, doors will open to you like you have never seen before. So thanks so much for watching this training. I look forward to seeing you soon.